I wasn't sure that I was live because of the 5 or 6 steps that it took me to go live, but I'm sure glad that my phone told me that I was live. Fuck. Anyway, what's good? I'm about to just be chilling, about to just be working. So, I just be chilling. It's the study oven, man. You could study and see what I do.
Went to Mexico, and that's when Sim and I both became shaman for the Toltec tribe, which was you were on that trip, but it was really a beautiful one. And then that was the week before the first COVID patients, and the Sim had been gifted a mask, and then the next week everyone starts wearing masks around the world. It was the most bizarre thing. And then we went to Egypt together in 2020, and that was incredible because that's when we were all together, and Susie discovered the cow and the bull on the wall. On the north wall. And we started seeing things that were matching with the last supper painting, which was bizarre. All of it started coming together, and that's when I got a call from History Channel. And History Channel, I was in Egypt with us, and they called and said, we've been following your work, and we'd like to buy out the rights to this story. And I said, I'm going to need to have like creative control. They said, well, we can't, we don't do that with anybody. And I said, well, then I don't do it. And luckily I had the opportunity with Gaia. And Gaia rang and said, we'd like to do it, and you can have creative control. The final edit, which was very important to me. And it all worked out. And then you ended up with a show as well. I mean, it's been such an incredible journey. And, I also kind of look back to the time that when William was born, my son, and I was looking at Vitruvian Man, and something triggered me right in that. And I rang you and I said, Alan, Vitruvian Man has the pyramid slope angle embedded within it. The square and the circle don't really match in any way, shape, or form. Why did Da Vinci do this? Well, it gives us perfectly the slope angle of the Great Pyramid. And then I was drawing circles that I knew that looked like and forming a flower of life over them. And the way the circles were drawn were touching each of the lines where the lines were in the body, and I knew it was something related to chakras. And then I remember you calling back and saying, all right, I've got something. And this happens all the time with us. Like, we don't even coordinate 95% of our work.
No, we just tend to be working on the same thing at the same time from different angles, which is very curious, isn't it? But it happens so many times that we just take it for granted now. it's not an exaggeration. We joke about it often, but sometimes you'll wake me up at 4 a.m. because you know I'm not. You know, I'm just like you. You know, so, but I do want to say what I actually said the very first time you called me, saying I'm doing the Vitruvian Man.
Yeah.
I said, what are you doing the Vitruvian Man for? Your wife's in labour. You're outside the door drawing the Vitruvian Man. Robert.
She had an epidural. I couldn't do anything. She was sleeping.
Okay, all right.
There was nothing to have been done.
But after that,
Yes.
I said, well, I think your intuition is right, but I don't think it's quite that same place that you're talking about. Because he drew he. I had to take control now. Welcome to my show. I'm speaking with Robert Grant here.
Fuck.
No,
Speak to the microphone.
Looked over for 2 fucking seconds. I was already at 310K. Fucked up. Oh my fucking god.
Hustle helps you keep tabs on your personal and freelance finances.
Alright, I'm about to murder
on a
this
simple
shit right now.
all-in-one digital dashboard. With early payday, round up to save, and no monthly fees, this is banking built for freelancers. Visit HUSTLfinancial.com to learn more.
It often happens this way, but you had actually drawn the Vitruvian Man from memory. You just drawing it. So obviously it was very close, but it wasn't spot on. So you thought the angle was there. I look at the real one and say, you're right, your intuition is right, but it's here. And then continue working on it, growing it into what became.
Here we go.
Lovely video about, what do we call it? The real Da Vinci Code?
Real Da Vinci
The
Code.
Real Da Vinci
Now
Code,
I can fucking hear it.
In which it's not just the idea that Da Vinci drew all these lines, interestingly, that cross certain points in the Vitruvian Man, the arms, but that they are, well, first of all, the length of them is all integrally related to mathematical ratios that are too much to go into here, but they're all significant. But then they're in the position of the chakras. So it became obvious that, the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, the subterranean chamber, these are chakra positions. So obviously the other lines must refer to hidden chambers that we haven't discovered yet. It's quite simple, really.
Yes.
Isn't it?
It is. Well, it's not a mental leap. It's not a mental leap. Once you come to that conclusion, yes.
Yeah. And like all things, I don't know if it's just apocryphal that Einstein said, you know, if a theory has got to be just beautiful. If it's beautiful, then it might be real, you know. But if it's not beautiful, it can't be real. You know, he wants it to be, which makes sense. You know, it's divine. Yeah. So we're looking at that, and we got this wonderful narrator to do it, Craig, who used to be Brother Mitrananda. He was in Yogananda's ashram for 35 years. He was a monk, and he left the ashram to go into business as really a spiritual business entrepreneur. Most beautiful voice. Anyway, so he's narrating it, and it is a beautiful piece of work. But the beauty is that you get to see the geometry is perfect, and then that led us to see, oh, there are more and more and more things hidden here in the Vitruvian Man than we had at first possibly conjectured. You want to go deeper into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fascinating exercise because not only do you find the pyramid proportions in it, you also find that you know, there were 2 ancient problems that got solved in that one square and circle combo. Actually, you could argue a third, which is that the circle is made by pi, the area of the square, and so if the circle has a radius of 1, the area of the circle would be pi, and the area of the square, if it's truly a squared circle, it should also be pi, or the other option, it could have had the same circumference value, which would have been tau, right? And you would have also had to have had the perimeter of the square be tau, but neither were even close to each other.
Right.
The square had an area, however, of the Euler number,
Vitruvian.
which is pretty astounding.
Pyramid.
200 years before the Euler number was supposed to have been discovered.
But of course, my work had already shown that there it is on the cover of the sonnets. That on the cover of Shakespeare's sonnets, there's the Euler number.
which is also before Isaac Newton and before Napier.
Euler -1,
Mm-hmm.
which connects to something else, the universal constant of measure that I had figured out was in the Great Pyramid itself. That foot, cubit, and meter are all there, just in the basic, simple proportions. No cherry picking, just taking the base, the half base, the diagonal, corner slope. So it was all obviously connected, and we started to say, these guys are all in the same club. Da Vinci, De Vere, D. It's the D club. It's a D club. Because they're, Da Vinci preceded. Then you've got John Dee and De Vere and Shakespeare. And of course, other great masters have come in other disciplines after that, like, Mozart and Debussy. And they all turn out to be grandmasters of the secret organizations of either Rosicrucians or Rosicrucians sort of morph into Freemasonry. It all comes from the Templars, comes from the Egyptian mystery schools. It's all one lineage. And they're all passing down this information in a clever way through their art. They're all hidden in the art.
So beautiful. It's incredible.
All right.
I mean, we've had so many moments of like decrypting these things on weekends, late at night,
On planes.
on airplanes, trains, automobiles, everywhere. And it's just been the most incredible journey. I think when we look back on all of this, I think, you know what I'm going to think?
I don't know, Robert. What are you going to think?
I want to do it all again.
Begin again, maybe?
Yeah. It's kind of funny, right? I mean, it's such a
I
beautiful
just made
journey.
a
that,
historic
I probably
discovery.
would choose. I wouldn't change a single thing. I'd be like, let's play the movie again. I probably would.
Yeah.
But that's how you probably know that it's time to move on.
You can have too much chocolate.
Yeah, that's right.
You can, right?
Yes, that's right. Too much magic.
I heard a nun in Yogananda's ashram say that once. She said, well, I had a lot of experience in this, in past incarnations. And it's like chocolate cake. You can have a little too much. You decide, I'm going to move on and do something else, right? But the beauty is you carry that with you.
Yeah.
Right, you might not immediately remember it. Of course you don't immediately remember it unless you have come in already fully awakened, fully awoken, and you're now in some form of enlightened consciousness through the incarnation. That's the goal. I laugh at when people, I don't laugh in the sense of sort of making fun of them, but everyone who gets on the, let's say, the quote, spiritual path, right?
Co-pilot, I bet my daughter an ice cream that is snails faster than a slug. Am I gonna win?
You might be treating your daughter to some ice cream.
We're all on the spiritual path, whether we know it or not. But
AKA the crazy train.
The woo-woo.
That's right.
The woo-woo parade.
Right.
But once you find a certain discipline, right? Like for myself, it's Yogananda, and I've been doing Kriya Yoga for 45 years. And it gives me peace, it gives me bliss, it gives me intuition, I'm very, very happy, right? But there is a tendency to sort of go into this phase of, oh, I must be so humble, and I've got to be.
Yeah.
Don't express your ego, because ego is just Latin for I am. It's the very name of
Yes,
God.
it's like, I'm more humble than you.
Right.
You remember when we were in Dharamsala and I asked the question about why some of the monks were wearing like very tattered looking clothes and the others were wearing very new looking clothes? It's kind of like when you buy a new pair of sneakers and they're too white, you've got to scuff them up a bit.
Yeah.
And so that's
They're not really humble yet.
That's right. Exactly. And then I was like, I asked one of the lamas, I'm like, what's up with that? And he's like, well, there's like this spiritual competition. I'm like, that sounds antithetical. He's like, yes, you don't want to be like, if you're going to be spiritual, you have to be like really tattered clothes. You have to have this look. So like, how do they get the tattered clothes? Well, they get the tattered clothes because they'll buy it already tattered. And then it looks more authentic.
Yeah.
That they're like, and I was like,
Yeah, they've really been on the path a long time.
He says, ego has many traps.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
But that is one of them, and that's one that I have had to learn to balance only recently in order to do the Gaia show. Not to go deep into it, but I have a past incarnation, as it were, in this incarnation in music. I was in music a lot, and I was trying to be a rock and roll star when I was young. I was on 5 record labels, blah blah blah, you know. And to live in that world, you've got to be on. You to convince people to give you a record deal and to record you and spend $1 million in the studio. You've got to be, look at me. Right? It's part and parcel of it. You've got to be, you know, right? Look at this stuff. I am damn good. Listen to this music. And I was like that, you know. And then I had my comeuppance, and I was given my tiny little hit record. I got one hit record that I so wanted. Finally got my hit record, and then the divine said, "Get out. That's it. That's all I'm giving you. Get out. You'll be dead if you stay in show business, right?" But I learned a lot in that. I learned to, you know, to entertain and be funny and all of that. But then I found my spiritual path, and now I'm meditating all the time. Right? And just launched straight into it, and I'm doing 5 hours a day of meditation. I actually wrote to Yogananda's ashram asking to be a monk because I had no family ties. I wasn't yet married. Got a nice letter back saying, probably not this time. She actually used the word "this time," like not this time. In other words, like, what do you know? I've been there before? Yeah, probably. No, you can't be a monk. Just stay out doing what you're doing. But then when you get into that idea of, oh, I must suppress all that ego that I was expressing there in the music business, you can often
we got the shit popping
off the pendulum, and I certainly did, and I see it in a lot of people. It's not a criticism; it's just a natural sort of thing to go, oh, I should really be. Yeah. But you know, the great ones don't say that. Yogananda didn't. I'm sure Christ didn't. I'm sure Buddha didn't. I'm sure Muhammad didn't. They said, "You are so special. Show the world how brilliant you are." Right? But just don't get lost in it thinking you're the only one. I am that I am, right? So what helped me actually come to terms with balancing that, because I had gone to the other end. I've literally gone to this other end of just, I don't want to express. So when you got your Codex show, and then you very graciously invited me to dinner with Yurka, so we sat at dinner together, because you thought, well, that might help Alan get his show, and indeed it did. And Yurka, the first question he asks me is, do you know anything? Oh, you're into Shakespeare, right? Do you know anything about, did Shakespeare translate the King James Bible? Like the perfect question. Because, yeah, I've got proof that he did. So I end up with my show.
Your team's problems are becoming more complex. But with Lucid, you can collaborate from anywhere, get aligned, make big decisions.
But my producer, I've literally gone to this other end of just, I don't want to express. So when you got your Codex show, and then you very graciously invited me to dinner with Yurka, so we sat at dinner together, because you thought, well, that might help Alan get his show, and indeed it did. And Yurka, the first question he asks me is, do you know anything? Oh, you're into Shakespeare, right? Do you know anything about, did Shakespeare translate the King James Bible? Like the perfect question. Because, yeah, I've got proof that he did. So I end up with my show. But my producer, who is now your producer as well, Jason Liggett, wonderful Jason Liggett, comes to me and says, how are you going to do the show? You know, what are you going to, you know, I've seen your work, but how do you intend to put it on in the studio? And I said, well, look, yeah, I just sit behind my computer and I show you the codes and it's all visuals. You know, and he goes, no, that's not going to work. We want yous center stage, coming out through a red curtain and telling the world how you found this. And I said, oh, I don't do that. I had literally said that at my first production meeting. I said, I don't do that. Oh, no, I can't do that. I've had my whole past, from my 20s to my mid-40s, I was doing that. Don't want to do that. It's not about me. It's about Shakespeare and John Dee, right? I'm comfortable saying, look what they did. You know what he said to me? It was a blast from somewhere. He just said, I want you to give a masterclass in what it's like to be a Renaissance espionage cryptographer.
Great answer.
And I had to get comfortable with what he wanted. You know, he's center stage, looking nice in a nifty jacket, looking professorial but funny as you are and all that. But I want you to tell the story. We're not talking about people want to know, why you found this. So I had to get comfortable. I've been there on that extreme of the pendulum. I've been there on that extreme of the pendulum. Now, balance it all out and come to the center. To recognize, it's all right to recognize that the divine is flowing through you because that's the truth. Just don't think you're the only one in the room that's got this knowledge. We're all in this boat together and we're all the same. And so long as you speak your truth from that place, and it was a real eye opener for me. I would never have been able to do that show if Jason hadn't insisted on that.
Wow.
And I came to terms with it, and I think we all have to, because let's face it, we're brilliant. Right? We're brilliant. And so are you. Get used to it.
It's just you forgot you're brilliant.
There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's the purpose of being here, to show you are co-creator.
So let me ask you this. So after all of our work in decryption, what has been the synthesis of the message? Why did they do it? And is there even a they?
Yeah, I was going to say, who? They? What?
Exactly.
Why did they do it?
What's been the point of all of this? And how have we changed it? And what's it all about? And also, have you noticed that the pace has greatly increased as far as the new discoveries are going? It has dramatically increased in the past. It's been a steady ascent.
It's always been ascending, but my God, it's like the hockey stick curve, isn't it? It's the same way the economy is going.
It's kind of incredible. Just like me looking through Codex Atlanticus, all of a sudden finding a cross section of Caffrey Pyramid inside of it. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's beyond bizarre. But what do you think? I can tell you how I have felt that this message is and what the message is and why it was done and why it's so profound and how it crosses time. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on what it is that this was all done for.
Okay, you know what your new Green Mountain commercial needs? Don't
Say jingle.
a jingle. Rise and blend for that bold smooth.
All right, that's about it.
You probably want me to go, right? Yeah. All right.
Smooth Bold Horizon Blend from Green Mountain Coffee Roasters.
Is working hard to manage migraine one big nope? It may be time to say yep to Viet.
The fuck up.
There's no greater joy, and I'm sure you would agree with this, than making a discovery that you think no one else on the planet knows about this yet, and I can't wait to tell them. Right? And I can't wait for them to see it and get it, and then for them to then contribute back and come out with more stuff and more stuff, right? So that's a great, exhilarating, almost intoxicating feeling, isn't it? Oh my God, I know this is true, and how exciting it is to rediscover it, right? Because it's all rediscovery, and nothing new under the sun.
Exactly.
Right? And so why do we do that? Well, my simple evaluation of that is first of all, there is just one consciousness that has decided to have a play. I guess sitting around in infinity for eternity gets a bit, I can't say it would get boring, but let's have a creation. Let's forget that we know it, and have so that we can have that feeling of recapturing it bit by bit by bit, right? And oh, you've got a piece of the puzzle, and I've got a piece of the puzzle, right? And we're all obviously at different levels of where we're finding stuff, because this earth is a school, isn't it? Some are in kindergarten, some are in high school, some are in college, some are in university, some are doing post-PhD diploma stuff, right? You don't laugh at that, the kindergartner saying, haven't got it yet. What's the matter with you? Wake up, right? It's just a game, right? But the fun part is once you are on that roller coaster, oh my God, I got it. The divine is in me and I am in the divine and you are too, and the whole thing, and it's just a game, and we're playing and we're reminding each other of our own divinity, and you find something and I find something, and we go, oh, that's the same thing from different perspectives, and it all becomes clear that there is no separation, right? We're now looking at, what do we call it now? Is it, what do you call it, the matrix, right? That's the word we're using for it. It's a simulation, right? Mm-hmm. So why? I think it's just for the sheer fun of it. I honestly, it's a game. We've got eternity to sit around in bliss. Right? But that's just one aspect of what we are. The finding out and the creating ourselves. So, I'm excited about this thing that I'm creating right now, whether it's a play or a movie or a painting or a scientific discovery, right? You've got the same thing. The excitement is unbeatable. It's better than sex. Personally, I can't remember, but I think it's better than sex. Yeah. So to me, it's that. I sum it up at the end of the Gaia show in this quite succinct way, which I do think was a download at the time, because Jason was saying, we don't quite have the perfect ending. And they went off to lunch and I stayed in the studio and I wrote out this thing. That's it. So I changed completely the ending of episode 7 of the season. And I said, what do you think? And he goes, well, just do it. And I did it and they all went, and it was good. So it's this. What's Shakespeare's most well-known phrase or saying?
To be or not to be.
No, actually, it's yeah, of course, it's to be or not to be. Everybody knows that. It doesn't matter if you're a bushman in the outback somewhere, Maui, you've heard to be or not to be. Everybody's heard it. What does it mean? That's tricky. Why did he say it with such emphasis in Hamlet? And of course, the common answer is, well, he's debating whether to commit suicide. So it's, should I live, should I die? Maybe theatrically that's part of it, but no, the real ultimate meaning, because he knows what he's writing about. He is there, right? He's already home, and his job is to remind us, come home. So he's telling us this all the time. But when you finally see, he's saying, you always have the choice. You've got free will. We won't go there quite yet. You've got some free will.
Destiny is the free will of the higher self.
Yeah. But this idea of to be or not to be, you always have the choice to be who you truly are.
This summer, make KFC your go-to pit stop for $7 Phillips. 4 boxes that turn hunger into a victory lap.
Alright, I'm back.
Fill up 4 ways at KFC and see F1 the movie in theaters June 27. Rated PG-13.
Current owners and lessees of an eligible vehicle get this low mileage.
The I am that I am, or not to be. and just continue wearing a mask in our communal Midsummer Night's Dream that we're going through over and over and over again. And will you ever run out of time to be doing it? No, of course, there's eternity. Therefore, you can play a zillion roles if you want. And that's what Nick Bottom does in Midsummer Night's Dream. He actually, when he's rehearsing, he says, oh, I want to play this role. No, I want to play that role. I want to play that. Let me play this role. He's literally us. He's every man saying, I want to do everything. Right? While I'm still not completely knowledgeable about who I truly am. But that's it. You have the choice to be. And when you finally get tired of playing all these roles and you see a deeper truth behind it all, you can just take off that mask and be who you are. And I also get the feeling that what he means with that is it's fine to be playing the roles too. I love drama. I wrote all these dramas. You know? Play every drama you want. It's great fun. But there is a deeper truth.
Always.
That's the to be.
Yeah.
Be who you really are. Huh?
So your feel for all of this, the purpose behind all of it, is to remember who we really are.
Exactly.
And why we chose to play this the way that we're playing it.
Yeah.
And that this is all an illusion.
It's a treasure hunt as well. It's like, well, if
It's
an
scavenger
illusion,
hunt. Treasure
what's
hunt.
the,
Yes. There's got to be a carrot.
what's the ultimate meaning? Where is
Yes. It's like never ending.
it? It is never ending, and I just wrote a piece that I performed in the King's Chamber called Begin Again that I feel pretty much sums it up. It's just like, why would you ever stop? It's such fun anyway.
Yes, that's right.
Beginning and what's next? I still want to create more because I am the creator. All right, so I think it's a balance, isn't it? It's a game, obviously. Obviously, it's a game. It's a puzzle. It's a game, and there's no game like it. It's the best.
No, and we're lucky we have great seats at this game. And we get to be on the field at the same time, too. No, it's been an amazing journey, Alan. It's been quite a journey. So can you give a brief synopsis of what you presented in the Great Pyramid and what this trip that we went on in December was like for you?
Oh, no, I can't give a brief synopsis. You know me, I'm rather long-winded, so that was a foolish question for the host to ask. How much tape have we got? I don't have tape anymore. It shows how old I am. Tape. Well, the synopsis would be that it's ultimately pulling together all the aspects that we are constantly playing with. It's saying this poetry, this art.
I will say it was a masterpiece. True masterpiece. Here we are. I have to give this backdrop. I'd asked Alan to give a presentation in Egypt with all these big influencers. He was supposed to have surgery on his shoulder, which then he postponed and looked like miraculously healed.
I'm doing really well with it. I just decided I am not going to listen to that surgeon and I am going to cooperate with the divine and physician, heal thyself. And honestly, it's coming along fine.
Yeah.
He still looks at the X-rays and the MRIs and says, no, it's you need a new shoulder, but I don't believe so.
No, I think you're doing quite well. But it was interesting because I invited you to come on this trip, and I told Alan he'd have the opportunity to present to a lot of people who have very large followings, and so he called me back and he said, and I was planning on him presenting in the Mina House or something, and then he called me back and said, I'd like to do my presentation of the Great Pyramid, and I was like, well, okay. Never seen a presentation of the Great Pyramid before. It's a bit hot in there.
Can you do
It's hot any time of the year. Is that even possible? And he's like, yes, I've got music and everything, and I've made arrangements. It's all good. Don't worry about it. He said, I'll just do it then. I said, okay. And then I heard a rumor that you'd rented a white tuxedo, which I thought was a little unorthodox, but
go a little over the top.
And a white top hat.
Well, there was that, yeah. And white patent leather shoes. But aside from that, I look pretty normal.
Yeah, and then you brought all those props. Which he always has props.
Oh,
so,
don't go there.
I won't. And so he had his props, and I come into the king's chamber, and he's waiting in there already.
Elta MD UV Clear. Trusted by germs. Loved by skin. Elta MD. New Halo Top Chocolate Fudge Brownie has brownie chunks and batter swirls in.
And he rushed ahead of all of us because we went to the subterranean first, and he was setting up, and sort of as Ellen does, he's an absolute perfectionist. Absolute perfectionist. And so he was in there fidgeting with his computer, and he had a little stand for it, and the sound thing. It's all, this is like a what are those? It's not like a Rubik's Cube, but it's like the gold I can't remember the Rube Goldberg. The whole thing that's like, it's almost like an obstacle course, or like this very, very high degree of complexity.
Well, let's say there was a lot of props. Right? Yeah. And I had to balance them all on the side of the sarcophagus. So that didn't exactly endear me to the guard who was watching over everything. God, do this.
Yeah, there's a guard in there, and he's just sitting next to you, like over your shoulder. Here you are, dressed as God, right? And literally in the white hat, white suit, and it's hot as hell in there. Mm-hmm. And you pass out programs, and I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, what is going to happen now? And I'm like, well, thank God he made laminated programs so I could use it as a fan.
Yeah.
We were sweating like mad.
It was hot.
And you started doing your thing, and trying to get the sound right and everything with your little computer speakers, and all of a sudden, something overcame me and just said, and I could literally feel the steam rising on my back. And then Matthias is like, maybe we should ask the space for permission to be sacrilegious in here or something. It's kind of like the feeling that I got.
Because he knew I was going to swear a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he just had that intuition. I do have.
No one's given a presentation like a performance with music, song, and dance in the Great Pyramid before. Let's be real. And so here's Alan Green doing it for the first time, playing the part of God in a dialogue with his fragmented self. Shakespeare.
And Moses. Moses pops in as well.
Yeah, Moses definitely pops in with quite the accent. And oy vey. And it was just the most incredible experience. And by the end of it, actually about halfway through it, everyone in the room was in just total tears. It was beautiful. It was sublime. And I thought to myself, what an incredible journey we've been on. And so much of how I feel is I'm falling in love with it, which is interesting because I think that's the real purpose, to learn how to fall in love with life the way that it is. And, I've seen pictures of Alan meditating. I think it was a Karnak temple where he's got literally a rainbow bubble around him in photographs. And what an incredible journey we've been on, and all the places we've gone. I can't even explain. And it feels like we're just on the cusp of it.
Oh,
this is about to really, really blow up big.
Right now, doors are opening everywhere, and you can hardly keep pace with it. Doors of intuition, but also doors of opening to, you're already well along the way with a huge following for your work, right? I'm not a great promoter of my own work. I prefer to still stay in the cave and be finding more and more stuff. And I finally realized very recently, you gotta stop it, Alan. Of course you can find more. Stop. It's enough. Go out and show it and let people relax into it and enjoy it. So yeah, there's all kinds of things happening. You asked for a synopsis. The only synopsis that I can give about that, what that was about, was just the title is Begin Again, a conversation between Shakespeare and God. But that's the nature of it, isn't it? We will never be really satisfied with the idea of, oh, I've made it back home, I've got it, I'm in divine consciousness, because there actually is a spiritual law, I believe, that it's an illusion. You can't go home and sit in bliss and say, oh, I made it, I'm home, when the rest of you is out there on God knows how many planets and how many solar systems. The rest of you is still out there in pain.
Co-pilot, I bet my daughter an ice cream that is snails faster than a slug. Am I gonna win?
Because that part of you doesn't yet understand the drama, that pain, as real as it is to you as you're going through it, it's that in an eternity of no, right? But still, you can't stand for your brothers or your sisters to be in pain. So it's the Bodhisattva vow, isn't it? That's what Dalai Lama keeps coming back, vows to come back. Yogananda vowed. He has a poem where he says, I will come back if need be 1 trillion times, so long as one stray brother or sister is still waiting in delusion. Imagine. You've got the entire bliss of the universe. You've got to volunteer to keep coming back 1 trillion times to remind the rest of you. He says, I am just the awakened God, awakening the sleeping God in you. Yeah. So that's the setup. And someone's in kindergarten, and someone's a PhD, and someone's bloody Einstein. But whatever, wherever, you can't go home and just say, oh, I'm fine now. You can't do it, because the understanding is, this is still me out there. The ideal would be to come back with still that consciousness, so you don't have to suffer the delusion and go through, the angst of, you remember what it was like falling in love for the first time when you were a teenager? God. Or school. Oh, do we have to do that again? But if you can come back clear with, right, yeah, I know who I am. That's great. But the message behind what I had written, and I can't even say I wrote it, I know it was a complete download and it was a gift, it was grace, it came through in one long gift. But of course there's great fun in then crafting it and adding the music and putting it together and say, well, that's my bit.
We laughed, we cried, we cried. It was different.
Yeah, but the message is just that. It's just, you are it, get used to it, and enjoy the fact of you're going to come back again anyway, begin again, and this time do it with a bit more knowledge of who you truly are, so that you can help your fellow man more. Not to put too much of a mission statement on it, but just that's it. You mean, what else are you going to do for eternity? You're going to help yourself back home, and what Shakespeare says, what dreams may come. What dreams may come. What are we capable of? What are we capable of creating? We have no idea, but we're going to have fun as it unfolds. Yeah,
so good, Hal. It was so amazing.
So that was the message of it. But what's happening right now is that, oh my goodness, all kinds of ridiculous things just happen, like faster and faster and faster. I went to Stratford to begin talking with the church. Those of your followers who know the work that I do, it revolves around the fact that I've discovered some codes that say very, very clearly that the Shakespeare, whoever that was, left the truth inside an altar stone, the holy relic, in the Stratford Church. And my goal for the longest time is to open that, to get the church to understand that they should open that, because I radar scanned it rather covertly, and to get the truth of a scientific proof that the codes are real. The codes say it's in the altar stone, but if I didn't get the scientific proof, then I'm just a nutcase, right? I was going to say, oh, well, he's got this idea that there's something in the altar. Yeah, but I went and proved it, and radar scanned it, so we've got a picture of what should be about that big, and instead of that big, it's 250 times bigger than that. You can see it on the Gaia show. I built an actual life-size model of it to show there's a hole in there, and it's full of stuff. So my goal, my journey is to get the church to understand that first of all, that was Shakespeare's last wish. He made the effort to literally put something in there for us to find. It's very clear. You don't go to that trouble to cut a hole into a block of solid marble that makes it almost hollow. You don't just do that on a lark unless you're going to put something in there of equivalent size. And the radar stamp shows it. It's got full of stuff. And since Shakespeare himself never left anything, there are no manuscripts, no poems, no plays, not a letter. He never wrote a letter to anyone. No one ever saw him. That's one of the most mind-boggling things of all. He's got the greatest 25-year career in London. He's like a cross between J.K. Rowling and Spielberg and Tom Cruise. And yet, anybody write about ever seeing him? I was at the Mermaid Tavern last night, and there was Bill having a pint and writing a scene from Macbeth. No one ever saw him. He never travelled anywhere, and yet 10 of his plays are set in Italy, and he knows it like the back of his hand. So this is a mystery, right? So the answer to that mystery is in the altar stone. So I've been to the church to convince them that I can help them, and one of the ways I'm going to help them is to raise money for they have an organ renovation going on right now. It's costing them a lot of money. The organ is 135 years old and needed cleaning, needed taken out, and they haven't raised all the money for it yet. So I said, I can help you with that. I'll raise some money. But the ultimate goal is to just find the truth behind this big mystery. And it might be that it is the man from Stratford. Yeah, it could be. Or it could be that it's someone else who many people think it is, Edward de Vere or Francis Bacon. I'm only interested in the truth of it. I really, truly am. After being 19 and a half years on this, nothing would surprise me if the whole thing was actually written to look like it was that. And then now you find out, no, it really was this guy after all. So I said that to the church. I went to the church and I said, whatever's in there, it's yours. It's on your property. You can open that, since there is nothing. Shakespeare left nothing. If you found one page of Hamlet there, you could build a little museum next to your church, slap it up on the wall, and charge whatever you want for the world to see it, and the world would flock. Your tourism would go up tenfold, 100-fold.
The big front seat on Spirit is so big and so in the front, you'll be marveled at by groups 2, 3, and 4. But play it cool. You're on vacation.
It'd be like the Tut's tomb, because it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's far more than that. I know it is. So that's the goal. But I just wanted to tell a story about how doors are opening. I arrive in Stratford. I'm at Heathrow. I get my car. I rent a car. I drive. I don't even look at London. I drive straight up to Stratford. It takes me an hour and a half. I drive in there, and there's no parking anywhere in towns in England anymore. And it's just ridiculous. The yellow jacket police are watching everything. You can park for 2 hours if you find a space, but then you can't go back to that space. You've got to move out. So I pull up outside. I book myself a little bed and breakfast, not a fancy hotel or anything. And I drive into Stratford, and I pull up, and there's one parking space right there, right next to the bed and breakfast that I've checked into. So, I've got a parking space. I get my ticket, put it on the windshield. I go into the mini hotel, bed and breakfast, take my cases up to my room, like you do, just freshen up, hang my clothes up, and I come out because I know I've now got to find a permanent spot because I can't just leave my car there all the time. I've got to go and find an overnight parking space. And I sit in my car, and I'm just about to drive away, and there's this woman about 5 feet away, standing literally in the doorway of the bed and breakfast that I just checked into. And she's looking at me intently. And I thought, why is she looking at so intently? And I thought, they probably want this parking space. It's valuable. I rolled down the window to say, I was still an hour and a half left on this ticket. Do you want to pull your car? And I'm going out. You can have this ticket. And she goes, oh my God, it's you. And what? You're the guy that has the Shakespeare show on Gaia. What? Yeah. She says, oh, I knew it. Long story short, she got up that morning, told her husband, Dale, we've got to go to Stratford-on-Avon. They live in Lincolnshire, 2 hours away. She's a psychic. She's an intuitive. She does the same sort of woo-woo shit that we do.
Speak for yourself.
she's there. She woke up. She said, Dale, we've got to go to Stratford. And Dale, tired of fighting her, says, this is what it's like, Alan. She's like this all the time. I just follow. Whatever she says, I just go. He's a big, burly guy. Huge, like bouncer type of guy. She says, we drove here this morning. We've never been to Stratford. We're English. We've never been to Stratford in our lives. But I just got the memo. I've got to go to Stratford. What? Comes to Stratford. She said, we were at a pub up the road, sitting there, and after about 5 minutes, I said to Dale, this is not it. This is not right. No, we've got to go somewhere else. Let's leave and get out of the pub. And she walked about a quarter of a mile to the bed and breakfast and stood there. And just as I come out, she sees me.
That's
what?
Crazy.
I mean, talk about angels choreographing things. How does that happen? She just knew. And she's standing there, and I happen to be parked there. And we have dinner later that night, and I'm going to be on her podcast event. She's got a small podcast thing going. She's an intuitive. She's a channeler. She does automatic writing, but she's only been on that journey for 5 years. She said, I knew nothing about this 5 years ago, and all of a sudden the voices kept coming through. And you can look at that with a bit of scans and say, oh yeah, the voices are coming through again. But no, when something like that happens, she's right.
Yeah.
She didn't know why. We had to connect. Things like that are happening. I could tell you 4 or 5 things like that.
Oh, it's like the thing that happened the other night at Blues House when Matthias was saying his favorite place to go in Scotland was Clavacairn, and I was like, wait, where? He said, I said, where do you like to go? He said, it's in the Highlands. You wouldn't know it. No one goes there. And he said, I go to this place called Castle Urquhart. It's on the Loch Ness. And then right by there is this place called Clavacairn. It's a time portal. It's got Orion's Belt. And I was like, what? And then I looked at the map because I remembered some reference to Clavacairn, these 3 mounds, that was in the television show Outlander. And I knew it was a famous time portal or something in the show as well. And then I go and look the location of it, and it's right next to Inverness. And of course, 10 years ago, I tried to buy my...
Kev, you know what your new Green Mountain commercial needs? Don't say jingle. A jingle. Rosin blend for that bold smooth.
All right, that's about it.
You probably want me to go. Yeah, all right.
Smooth, bold Horizon blend from Green Mountain Coffee Roasters.
Family's castle, which was called Castle Grant, right in the exact same area. In fact, this place, Clavacairn, would be on the whole area of, between Urquhart Castle, which is also Grant Castle, and then this castle, and Clavacairn is right in between the two of them, and on the same land.
And it's your ancestral
And it's
family?
in Orion's Belt, yes.
It's your ancestral family.
Yes.
But you only found that out the other night
I
at
found
that
this out
party
at
we
this
were
party
at.
we were at.
And he said,
yes,
I love going there, and it just happens to be your
And he'd been going
family's
to Castle Grant the whole time.
And he didn't know.
No, he didn't connect the two
Even
things.
though you were
He knew it was
friends,
called. He knew it was called Grant Tower, but he
but
didn't
he
connect
didn't
the.
connection. No.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like that's a little weird, don't you think? It's a bit bizarre. So it's just come on. I mean, come on. So where do you think? I guess if you could make a prediction, Alan, on where this is all going to go and how, without going too deeply into the codes and such we found, but if you could kind of like put on or hold the crystal ball for a moment. We've recently found that the great thanks to your addition that you brought into our team of Robert Cumber, we now have some expertise in astrology. It's almost as if we've been going through arithmetic. We really started heavy with numbers. Then I went deep into geometry, right? You were there as well. Then we went deep into music, and now we're going deep into cosmology.
It's almost as if...
Sounds like the quadrivium, doesn't it?
Yeah. What is that, Robert? What is the quadrivium?
Well, it's interesting. I've been watching this. I've been watching this new TV show on Netflix right now called The Last Airbender. It's worth watching.
I haven't seen
and
it.
there's this scene where this little boy, who's the Avatar, right? He's the Avatar.
Yeah.
And this little boy is in an astral travel or something. He's talking to some woman who is ascended clearly, and she's telling him to be the Avatar, you have to be able to embody the guide, the general, the mediator, all these different aspects. And the Avatar has the unique characteristic that he is not, or she is not only having the ability to be an airbender, and also has to be a waterbender and also a